Everyone has been talking about ChatGPT, and it's for a good reason. The ability to generate answers to any request in human-like text is remarkable. And for many individuals, this is their first aha moment with AI. So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can use ChatGPT as a beginner database administrator to crack your first interview if you don't have any experience any at all. And you will be guided by my 7 years of experience within the field. So rest assured, you will be fine within your first interview. So in this video today, we're going to be asking ChatGPT some SQL Server questions that you can expect on your first interview. And remember, I'm going to show you how to nail them. So let's get right into it. So guys, one of the first questions you will be asked in an interview is, tell me about yourself. So the key to answering this question according to ChatGPT, and I do agree, is that you want to start out by highlighting your relevant skills and your enthusiasm and willingness to learn. So let's look at how ChatGPT answered this question, right? I'm a recent graduate with a degree in computer science and a strong interest in database management. So you can change database management to database administration. Now it went on to say, although I don't have any direct experience as a SQL Server DBA, I've been studying database system and SQL programming in my coursework, and I'm eager to apply my knowledge and develop my new skills in a professional settings. I am a fast learner, a strong problem solver, and a team player, and I am confident that I have the potential to make valuable contribution to your organization as a SQL Server DBA. So this is excellent so far. However, you need to show your willingness somewhere within the answer. So you can go on to say you have taken relevant training on platforms like Udemy, Coursera, and you have set up your own environment within the cloud or on your machine. Now this is a great punch to add to your answer. So this shows that you're a self-starter and you're willing to go beyond what you were taught to get ahead. Guys, I want you to keep in mind that these questions are not necessarily in order, but these are some key fundamental questions or aspects of the database that you need to understand and be able to answer whatever question is thrown at you. So guys, from time to time within an organization, there will be performance issue with applications and databases. So you may be asked, how would you monitor your database for performance issues? So now let's look at the answers that ChatGPT gave us. So you could start off by saying, just like ChatGPT, there are several methods to monitoring a database performance. So one of the most basic one is number 4, where you use the SQL Server Activity Monitor, right? This is a graphical tool that provides a quick overview of the current activities that is taking place on the instance. So as it says, you can quickly identify long-running queries, blocking processes, and other performance issues. That alone is icing on the cake. Now remember, you don't have any experience, right? So you can go on to say you have looked at the other monitoring tools like the SQL Server Performance Monitor, SQL Server Profiler, Dynamic Management Views, and see how to utilize them within the database. So for example, you can use the Dynamic Management Views to monitor performance and the health of your database as well. So you don't have to go in details about all of them, but you show that you're aware of them and their capabilities. So you definitely want to know number 4, the SQL Server Activity Monitor. Another question that may be thrown at you within an interview is, how would you resolve blocking process within the SQL Server database? Now you're fresh out of college, you maybe learned about blocking in one of your database courses, but you don't know how to really resolve it, right? So it goes back now to the monitoring, right? So from the monitoring using the activity monitor, you can be able to detect the blocking process. So you could start out by saying there are various ways to identify blockings within the database. You can utilize the activity monitor, the MVs, right? A procedure called the SP store procedure. So this is not mentioned within ChatGPT's answer. However, it analyzed the steps very well. So these are the technical stuff that you would actually do. Analyze the cause of the blocking. So you see which user or process is causing the blocking, right? And then you're going to take action by terminating that process. So let's go over it again. How would you resolve blocking within your database? So you'd say you'd utilize the SQL Server Activity Monitor to analyze which process or user is doing the blocking, and then use the kill command to kill that process so the transaction that was being blocked can continue. And that's how you would answer how you would resolve blocking. Now, these are very practical things that you'll do on a day-to-day basis as a database administrator. Now, a follow-up question could be, how could you automate the detection of these blocking processes? So let's look at number 6 at what ChatGPT says, although it doesn't state it, just as how I asked the question a short while ago. So at number 6 it's saying monitor and prevent future blocking. So once the block has been resolved, it is important to monitor the database for any future blocking issue and prevent them from happening again by implementing best practices for performance optimization and transaction management. Now that's a bit technical, right? So to simplify this, you can say, in order to monitor blocking, right, you can now develop a stored procedure that runs on a schedule that automatically tracks for blocking processes and then send a notification. Now that is a manual way of go about monitoring blocking. Also, you can go on to say there are third-party applications that can be used to monitor the database and then send notification whenever these events occur within the database. Now, once you go on to say that shows that you are doing your research and you're really interested in becoming a SQL Server database administrator, because guess what? The average person leaving college does not have this form of information. And next important and one of the most critical part of database administration is doing backups and restore. So you may be asked how you would migrate a database from one server to another or from on-premise to cloud. So what ChatGPT does here, it gives you all of the detailed steps at a high level that you'll actually do to migrate a database. So step 1, plan and migrate the activity. You're going to check your database size and so forth. You don't need anything else, right? Number 2, prepare the target environment. Create your Azure SQL database if it's within the cloud or your other database server. So we're going to assume the other database server or Azure server already exists. So the next step is to create a backup of your database, and then you'll copy the database to the target server that you want to restore the database to. And once the database is migrated, you perform validations. So now let's see how you'll really answer this in one go. In order to migrate a database from one server to another, I'll perform a backup of the database, copy it to the target server, and then perform a restore on the target server. You may be asked, how would you migrate from a higher SQL Server version to a lower SQL Server version? So let's ask ChatGPT this question. So here it's generating the response, right? So it says prepare the target environment, create a backup of the source database, restore the backup to the target environment, right? And then verify your restore database. So this question is a really tricky question because it is not possible to do a direct restore just like how ChatGPT outlined. So if you ever ask this question, you're saying in order to restore from a higher SQL Server version to a lower SQL Server version, you need to create a backpack file and then restore it to the lower version, because you cannot restore a backup of a higher SQL Server version database to a lower SQL Server version database. You have to use a backpack file, or you generate the script of the database and then recreate the database on the lower version. Now this is not ideal for large databases. So another aspect of SQL Server you need to understand as a junior DBA or a new DBA is that you need to know how to automate processes. And in order to do that, you need to understand the SQL Server agent task. So according to ChatGPT, these are the list of things you'll do. You'll need to enable the SQL Server agent, which is correct. You need to know how to do that. Then you need to create a SQL Server agent job, right? Correct. And then you need to define the task, which is right. And then you need to schedule that task. And then you need to start the job. So if you schedule the task, you don't need to start the job. So now let's put this in an answer for the interviewer. In order to automate tasks in SQL Server, you'll utilize the SQL Server agent. Once you use the SQL Server agent, you can create multiple steps for the task that you want to execute, and then set that on a schedule, and then ensure the job is enabled. And that's how you'll answer the automation question. Unless you're being interviewed for a database developer position, you don't really need to study anything about what is a store procedure, what is a trigger, what is a synonym. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to know the cores, right? You need to know backup and restore, automation, performance monitoring, and optimization. So you also may be asked, how would you optimize a query? So in order to answer this question, you simply can say you'll execute the query and monitor the execution plan and monitor how the optimizer is scanning and retrieving the data from the tables. Now the optimizer will often recommend indexes if there are any indexes, and then you can implement that indexes. Now you can take it a step further and say you can analyze the query store to track query performance history over time and see how they have been regressed, and you can also force query plans. So this may be the first time you're hearing about query store, and this is where I want to separate yourself from the other individuals who are applying for jobs. You need to learn and understand these new aspects of SQL Server and how you can utilize them. So I went in details on my course on how you can set up and configure the optimizer. So in my course, I covered all the core features of SQL Server that you need to understand: how to set up users, how to monitor and troubleshoot, how to install your server, and a bunch of other things. You can check it out on Udemy, guys. The link will be in the description of this video, and I'll make a 50% discount available for you. So the key thing, guys, is to set up your SQL Server, do the relevant trainings, and then once you do this, you are automatically ahead of the other individuals who are applying for the jobs. That's the freshers, because it's really hard to beat the ones with the experience. But if you want mentoring or tutoring, you can comment in the section below, and then I'll try and organize that. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.